There was definitely a time where I felt like my husband and his friends, they were the creatives and I wasn't. You're still a creative and your art is still worth making. What are we doing here? Why are you watching this video and why am I talking to you? Well, I'm Krista. I'm a creative person currently working a 9 to 5 job. Well, more than 9 to 5, if we're being honest, in a non creative field. And I've spent the last year or two feeding and cultivating my creativity, getting back in touch with that side of myself after years of grad school and establishing my career in healthcare. I bet a lot of other people are like me or can relate to what I'm saying right now. Or maybe if you can't 100% relate, maybe you want to. Maybe you feel like you aren't even a creative person, but you would like to be. But if that's how you feel, I would argue that you're incorrect and that you are creative, but that side of you is just dormant right now. You see, one of the reasons I'm starting this channel is to encourage every single human to express their creativity, not necessarily be an artist with a capital A, but just flex that creativity muscle we all have somewhere inside of us. I've always been a hobby person. I've danced my whole life. I've dabbled in various arts and crafts since I was school age. I love to read. But over the last 2.5 years, I've slowly really ramped up my creativity and reignited that flame to learn and do and create. It's done wonders for my mental health. It's helped insulate me against career frustrations because I have something going on outside of work that matters to me. And it's helped me connect with people more. And also so many other health benefits and mental benefits than I could possibly list. And what inspired me to start talking about this here is conversations I've had with people in my life. I was talking to a family member once who was telling me about an idea she had for a novel that she wanted to write. And then literally in the next breath, she said, I don't really have a creative drive. And I know I must have looked at her like she was crazy. All I could think of for a response was to say, but clearly you do. You're telling me about a novel that you want to write. I mean, how is that not a drive to create? But she just didn't recognize it. And then another time I was getting coffee with a friend, and this was one of the first times that we had hung out together one-on-one. So I was telling her about myself and what my interests are. And she said, oh, I'm not really artsy or creative at all. But she didn't say it in a way that meant that she's not interested in art or creativity. She said it in such a way as to mean I'm just not good at it. So I told her about how I used to think that I just couldn't draw. But after some maturing, I realized that it was a skill like any other skill, and I could learn it with intention and effort, and that I think creativity overall as a whole is the same. So we left it at that and kept talking about other things for the rest of the day. But then later that day, after a few hours after I had gotten home, I got a text from her, and she said she had thought about what I said, and she had pulled out some markers and paper, and she was just doodling what she felt like, and she didn't really know what she was doing, but she was having fun. And now that I've spent a few years in this practice of being creative, it feels so foreign to me that someone would just think of themselves as not creative. But I remember a time when I felt the same way about myself. You see, I have a husband, and my husband is a creative with a capital C. He is super talented. He's a musician and songwriter, and we live in Los Angeles. He plays with a band, he plays shows by himself as a singer-songwriter, and so I'm always surrounded by musicians who he knows, who feel so strongly about their art and their creativity that they are out here in Los Angeles trying to establish music careers for themselves. You know, living here especially, I'm surrounded by visual artists, makeup artists, actors, people working on their screenplays, and of course, all of my husband's music colleagues, right? There's just artists everywhere, creatives everywhere. And me, I work in healthcare. I have a master's degree in public health. Not that I never use creative problem solving, but you know what I mean. It's different. And there was definitely a time where I felt like my husband and his friends, they were the creatives and I wasn't. And honestly, I have to credit my husband for being the one to help me start seeing myself differently. He was talking about how when you move somewhere like Los Angeles, where there are a lot of creatives, and you start stepping your foot into the artist communities out here, you have this initial expectation that everyone here is preternaturally talented, just beyond belief. But he said that the people he meets out here who are actively building themselves careers out of the arts and their creativity, what sets them apart is actually follow through. They just show up and keep doing the work. They keep creating, they keep putting their ideas out there, they keep gigging, meeting other creatives. Yes, they are talented people, very much so, but not to a level that's unattainable. They are talented. Plus, they keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing the work. Now, I'm set in my career, at least I think so. I'm not looking to become a professional artist in any discipline, but I still found that realization really inspiring, and it changed how I see my own potential. It helped me realize that I can choose to be a creative person by just putting one foot in front of the other and showing up every day to, well, be creative. So I started carving out time in my life for my creative interests. This includes lifelong hobbies that I've always had, like dancing and literature, but also new ones like drawing, that was new, playing the violin, that was super new, and even trying to learn how to code video games, which is hilarious because I never even used to play video games. Slowly, over time, I started to notice that I felt mentally sharper. I was more alert, my memory was getting better, and also I was quicker to pick up on new information. And I also noticed more resilience when it comes to my mental health. Particularly for me, I felt less stressed by the natural ups and downs of life. I felt like I was able to take bad news or bad outcomes on the chin a little bit better. And I think that's partially because a lot of these creative pursuits are good self-regulation tools, but also because I felt like my life was richer and had so much more going on. So if something went wrong in one area, well, there's so much more to my life than just that one thing. So it didn't feel so huge, you know? So that's a big reason why I'm here. It sounds a little trite, but I really believe humans are meant to be creative, and I think everyone has the ability and the right to express their creativity. And then the other side of it is part of my experience the last few years hasn't been about diving deep into just one creative pursuit, right? I haven't become a master at drawing or anything like that. I've been dabbling, experimenting, cross-pollinating across disciplines, right? I do a little bit of violin, I do a little bit of drawing, a little bit of cake decorating. And I think so much of the internet is about hyper-focusing on one thing, right? People have their niche, but I can't really relate to that. And I know I'm not alone. I want to draw one day, I want to code a video game the next, I want to play my violin, the whole process, right? So I wanted to create this space to be about exploring and trying out creativity and arts in general instead of being dedicated to one very specific hobby. So basically, this is for the dabblers who maybe have convinced themselves that they're not actually creatives, either because life took them in a different direction or because they don't feel like they can hone in on just one thing. You're still a creative and your art is still worth making. This is a reminder for me as well. And as I continue to publish on this channel, you can expect progress updates on my latest creative pursuits, like my 1-year progress update on cake decorating. The before picture in that one is really hilarious and shows just how much of a beginner I was. So you'll see some stuff like that. You'll also get tips on creativity in general, maintaining your creative energy, tips for kind of reestablishing that, especially if you have other life things going on like we all do. And who knows, we may do some create and chat sessions or things like that. This is really just a dedicated space for embracing being creative, even and especially for the beginners or the people who haven't exercised that creative muscle in a long time. I'm glad you're here. I'll see you soon.